Hi there, I'm Hajnalka Collado from Earthster, and I'm head of account management. And in today's session, I want to show you how to use Earthster in a way that you can do LCAs at scale. And I will be continuing today with my previous demo from the January session about Lego blocks. So the main focus is going to be around such an example. And even though this is a live session and a webinar, I would like you to ask questions in the chat section and I answer as well as I can. And if I'm not able to, you'll get your answer after the session. And for those who are seeing this at the first time, Earthster is an advanced LCA tool that's fully software based, and everything in the experience is designed for you to be much faster and more efficient in your LCA modeling and actually enjoy doing it, so that you end up playing around with the data and seeing that, what happens if I do this or that? And kind of like help you make better environmental decisions. That's our goal. So I'm going to show you how to do that with Earthster. And let me share you my screen. Let's start. Here, what you see here now in front of you is what we call a workspace. When you as a user have an account, you can have access to multiple different accounts, but you have your own profile. And each account has their own subscription plan, but you might have access to many, like I do. And a workspace is what we call a collaboration zone between your team members, or you can also use it for organizing your work. You can think of them as folders. And actually, that's something that later on we will implement folders, because many of you have been asking for it. And it's a useful thing. So this is a workspace, and if you've been in my sessions, you know this already, especially if you're using Earthster. And what I would like today to show first is how to use the replicator to update existing cycles. Because in the last session, what I realized that when we were using the replicator, the system didn't recognize the commas or dots as a decimal separators. And I noticed that some of my models have been actually created wrong. Look, in here, our input is 0, even though my file said that it should have a value. So now what we're going to do is update the existing cycles. So using the same replicator. And in case you haven't heard what is a replicator, is an awesome way of using, let me show you, here is how simple a replicator can be. The concept behind it is you have an LCA template, a cycle, and you're able to update the values based on a spreadsheet like this. And in my example, what I've been using is Lego pieces. We built from a template a Lego figurine and put all those together. Now what we're going to do is update this one, and today we are going to use a brand new feature called generator to create boxes of Legos with a super cool way. I'm excited to show you that. So let's get started. So we want to update these cycles to match my actual file. So what I would do, I have created already, these are the information, and you are able to use the replicator if you have a corporate plan. This belongs to our highest tier plan, and so does the generator. And just in case for you to know, when I'm demoing, I'm using the corporate plan with an EcoInvent license. So basically everything you can have in Earthster, that's what you're seeing in front of you at the moment. So let's start by taking this, download it as a CSV file, because if I download it as an Excel from here, it will take all the tabs, and we don't want that. But the replicator itself will work with both. We go back to Earthster, and in here, where I have my existing cycles with the matching names from my file, these are the names of the cycles, I'm going to update the values to match this. And with only a few clicks. Look, instead of clicking create new cycle, I click on the drop down and I'm gonna say update in batch, upload file. I click here, drag in there the download I just did, in there, dropping, upload and update. And now, as you can see, the system is already thinking. It's updating my cycles. And meanwhile, we are gonna reload the page. And look, you can see already that some of them have been already updated. Let's check them out. So the head female smiling. It has been updated to be 1 gram, and that's what it was before already. And then we go back here. Let me reload the page again. Good. So this is how you can use the replicator to update the files, your existing cycles. Now, what I want today to show you is, let's continue with the Lego theme. So it's trying to be a super simplified example for a situation when you have a huge product portfolio and many, many different variations of your own product that will end up as components in other products. But of course, you could have this as just raw materials. You can kind of create your own database. Instead of using straight away the EcoInvent datasets, you create your own cycles, even if there's only one input, and you're able to utilize these scale features much faster than building your models one by one. So I'm going to change workspace, and I have already created one called Lego blocks. So on purpose, I'm keeping these different type of Legos separately, because imagine if I have now 1,000 Lego blocks, I don't want them in the same places with other cycles that I have. And in this template, this is just like what we did previously for the Lego figure, but I added a color option. So we still have one of my inputs called injection molded ABS for Lego parts. It's my own cycle. And even from this view, we can explore what the dataset has. And since it's my own, there's not much in it. It's a simple model. And I added color options. If we go back here, let's go to my generic Lego blocks sort of bill of material. Not really, but this could be part of a bill of material where you have all sorts of product codes and everything possible for the particular part. This is just a simple example. And this is how it looks. Let me zoom in a bit just in case. Now you see it better. Then, so the assumption is here that we have a plastic piece made of ABS, weighs a certain amount to get the piece, to make the piece, and it can be colored with a certain color. Really, really simple. Now, this is how my model looks. So I'm using my pre-made template or input with injection molded ABS. It has the injection molding itself and the ABS plastic. And then I added a color, a custom process specifying the same amount of inputs for each, because the assumption is that all the information that I have is the color needed per 1 gram of the plastic. Now, the numbers are totally invented and also the inputs, so don't get stuck on that. This is just an example. And to make the replicator much more powerful, since these are actual color options, I used parameters for it. Let's go see how it looks. To access the parameters, you need to have at least a collaborative plan. So for example, in the professional plan, that's not included. Here, you click here, parameters, and then I have set up already a version that I call the parameter, which is the same thing as a variable. So you're thinking in your model that what can change in your model, and in my case, it's changing the color. It could be the materials, distances, anything that you could change and can use as a concept. So different variations. It makes sense to use a parameter. I called it color. I have a active value, which is red. And then here are my options. Let's see how it looks. Super simple. The identifier, what we're going to use for the formulas to get to the right results, is called color. These are my options. And now if I would want to add more, for example, we would add the option white. I would just type white, click enter, and it adds it. And if you don't want it, you just click on the X and remove it. You're able to choose that what's the current option. So what's special with option parameters is either one of these options is having a value. The rest are considered zero. So now if I mark that the active value is, let's say, yellow, where I have that one in my formula will become 1. Let's show you. Save parameter. Now, look, my model already updated. And here you can see that I have had, now the yellow has an impact and red and green doesn't because they are not active in my model. Look, the formula is super simple. I'm saying color, that's the option, like identifier. Then the actual option is yellow, multiplying that by 0.01 kilo of the color in this case. And this formula could be much more complex. And for one of them is the same thing. Color green, as you can see, that's 0 at the moment. And we have color red. That was the yellow one. And here is the red one. The way you add these, let me show you. So did we add the white one? I think so. Yes, we have added the white one. So the next step would be we add a new color in here. As you can see, when you're using options, like material options, color options, you need to have all the inputs in your model. So we add new. We look for titanium oxide. And let's see, for example, this would be a good enough one, good data set. When you're using Earthster and you're looking for data sets, this is the interface. You can use multiple keywords and you have tags that help you identify the type of data set. So now, for example, if I remove the material product as a search filter, my results will be totally different. Still, it's mainly material products, but it could be more different ones, and you can filter based on any. So this helps you find faster what you're looking for. And the search looks based on the title and whatever is inside the dataset description. This comes from the data provider. And this is, for example, an EcoInvent dataset. Now we add the process. You can add it from this view or the previous one. Add process. And we are going to set it up exactly like the other ones. So we are saying, look, we start, you can either type the code or you can click it. Color, and then from here I say white, and I'm multiplying by the same amount, 0.01. You can also use dots or commas for decimal separators, but don't mix them. Keep the 1. Save. Now we have a value. And as you can see, you can rename the datasets. It makes it much easier to see what it is. The original dataset is always here. You can always check it with what was it? Is it the correct one that you have chosen or not? You see also the version that you're using in your model. And now we have color white. So we are able to add white versions. So this is the template we are using. And we are gonna create a bunch of Lego blocks based on this template, different variations. Based on these grams of input, we are gonna do that. Let me show you how to do that. I have here my template cycle, and the replicator, what it does is it takes exactly what it is and updates the value. And look, maybe the most important thing that I haven't mentioned yet is the way it works is uses hashtags. In here, I have created a hashtag ABS. So that's my identifier in my Excel sheet, that wherever the input I have has hashtag ABS, it will update the value of it based on what I have here in that column. Look, then we go to the color one. It's the same thing. We have here also ABS. I'll explain it in a moment why. And the color itself comes because of the parameters. If you don't remember, you have a really complex model and you don't remember what hashtags you have added, the best thing to do, and even if you will remember how you would be doing it, the best thing you can do is export the template and then fill your data. I have done that already. You go to settings. Here's where you find the replicator if you have the feature. You click on the drop-down menu and you say download the template either in an Excel format or CSV. I just click here. Then I can show you how it looks, previewing it. It's this simple. As you can see, the first column is name, then @color, and then hashtag ABS. The @color refers to the option parameter. So that's how my file looks like. It's in different order. That doesn't matter. Now, look. In this file, what's going to happen is it's going to create for me 33 cycles based on these specifications. So I'm saying that the cycle, the LCA model called block 1x1 red, it's going to use 0.44 ABS and it's going to use the red color option. And this, we could make it even bigger and more complex. So it doesn't matter how many columns and how many inputs you have. Let's take it. Download again as a CSV, like this. Then we go back to Earthster. We go to the workspace. I don't know if you noticed, the best way to navigate between the different views in Earthster is click on the Earthster logo. It always takes you back to the workspace view. So you never get lost. You always know where you are. We go in here, the block template, then again to settings, here, like this. And now we say replicate in bulk. We are going to create those new cycles within few seconds. Then I'm going to take again the download. Here is our CSV. Let me drag it like this. Upload and replicate. Now it says our file is being processed. And while it's doing it, if we go now to the workspace, again, clicking here, we can start seeing them already appearing. Look how many we have already. And this is just in minutes, like maybe even seconds. And what I've been using here in my replicator file, if you're curious, I'm using the function concatenate, taking the names from the previous sheet and adding the color option to make the name dynamic. So when I add, for example, white, I can just continue with this. So knowing how to use Google Spreadsheets, Excel, or similar is a benefit in this case. Look. We have a huge amount of new cycles existing. And if we check, for example, the block 1x4, yellow, in there will be our values added. So it updates both of these because I specified that both of them are the ABS. And the purpose of it is that it matches the amount of plastic with the colorant in the right ratios. Good. Now let me see. Good, we have these. So the next step, before I show the next step, is there any questions? Because we skipped today the really basics, just to make the sessions a bit different. And please, anytime you have questions, just put it in the chat. And let's make this session more interactive. Oh. Good. Let's continue. So far, no questions. Okay. So the new feature you are waiting for, because these you have been seeing already, the replicators. Now that we have created all these models, we are going to use a new type of file, a new type of feature called a generator. In the previous session, I used a copy paste to create the figurine. I can show you how it looked. With the copy paste feature, I added my own cycles as flows into the system and specified how many there are. And now we are going to use a generator to do the same thing. And this feature is still in beta, so some of you have already access. And in a beta phase, meaning that we are still improving it, getting feedback, and making it better. But I can also already demo it. So let's go to the generator. Basically, the generator file it's the same thing if you would taking the replicator, because it creates for you new cycles, with the copy paste feature, because you're actually deciding what inputs goes into each cycle. The structure is simple, and this could be part of your bill of materials. So if this would be an actual bill of material and you have other columns, the rest of the columns are ignored, and these are the ones that the generator actually takes. So it takes the name cycle, component, amount, unit, geography, and there's a few variations that it accepts, and the rest, for example, if you would be putting material types, it would just ignore it. You still have it in your file, so you don't need to create a new one, and it takes the relevant information. Look, I'm saying what we are now creating is a Lego box. One of these Minecraft boxes that you have a small box and there's all the different pieces and it creates one new package. And I'm specifying the amount of units and which model goes in there. And this generator also works if we would be adding electricity, any type of inputs. So I'm going to take again this as a file, as a CSV. Good. We have it again. And go back here. And we are gonna, now again, just for you to see easier what's happening, we are gonna go to a new workspace called Lego Boxes, and we're gonna create the two new boxes in here. So if you look at my model, I'm saying a Minecraft box, and I have a basic box where every single unit is the same, and in here there's random amounts. So again, clicking on the drop-down menu, let me go here, and then generate cycles from file. This is an awesome new feature. Before it does anything, it always shows you a preview, what is it about to do. So I drop there now my file called Lego Box. I upload and generate, and it's going to think a bit, and it's going to tell me that based on my file, what is it going to do? And you'll see it in a moment, what happens. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please let me know. And in case you're just joining in, so what we are doing now is I'm demoing how to use Earthster to be able to do LCAs at scale. And I'm continuing my Lego building models from the previous session. And I'm going to show some other feature updates today. Let's see, surprisingly slow at the moment. Yeah, sometimes sharing a screen might slow down my browser. Before I was testing, it was 5 seconds. Let's see, almost done. Good. Let me see, just in case, I'm going to reload the page. Yay, we have a nice demo effect that it did not work. Let's do it again. Let me see, it's the right file. Good. We put it. No, I did something silly. There. Upload and generate. And if this doesn't work, I'll demo it next time. This is why it's still in beta, because we need to iron out these kind of performance issues and make sure that it works every time much faster. And I wonder if the reason is because I added another row in there. Let's see. While this one is being built, I'm going to show you other feature updates that we have had. So if we go back here to these sessions, we have now updated the style of exports. So now they look prettier. And in addition that they're prettier, you are able to export them as an HTML version, which means that you can easier add your report into documentation or any document that takes HTML formats. So let's see, for example, this model, injection molded ABS parts. This is how it used to look like, the custom. These are the inputs of it. So if we export this one, in front of the title, there is always the menu icon, or the 3 lines with a circle is the menu icon. You will find there different options what you can do. You can export it here. And we have the typical simple, full, and custom report types. And also a version of, we can create a custom version. So for example, now if I show you the simple version, as you can see, you can download it in PDF format, Excel, CSV, and HTML. The PDF is a good one for demoing. Look, you just click generate, ta-da, and here it is. And this is one of the new things we have now, that now you have nice lines and different sections. And if you need for your company an own custom report that, for example, you would like to add in the simple report all the 5 main impact categories, or you want a specific impact category, let us know and we can create one of these pretty looking ones and you get with the categories that you need. So this is one of the latest features what we have. And then meanwhile, let me go back here. Something is not working with my file. Let me see, what could it be? It does not like it. Let me take out this one. This is the one I didn't have before, and it worked with this. CSV. Good. New version. Generate cycles from file. New file. Here it is. Like that. Upload and generate. This is what I was expecting. Look, it's telling me. So the plan, what it's going to do, based on my file, it's going to be creating 2 cycles. None of them will be updated and 0 will stay the same because they don't exist yet. So the same file can be used to update your existing models based on the name. Let's execute the plan. Look, now it's going to generate for us. And you'll see how you can use this feature for doing LCAs at scale. Now it says that it's done already. We're going to close this. For now, you have to reload the page. And plug me into the wrong one. Lego boxes. What's going on here? Maybe this was the issue, that it was here. It made them in the wrong workspace. I was in the wrong workspace, not in the one that I was expecting. Look, we have the 2 new cycles just recently generated. Let's see what's in the Minecraft box. We open this and it has nicely all the bits and pieces we wanted. You're able to see the results based on this. Now, for example, you could be editing this in any way you would need. And the other one should be having all the ones with the same amounts, all of them. Yep, look, this simple. We had an Excel file. It created for us all the inputs using my own models. So this is super powerful when you have already created an own model for a part, for a piece that you need in your own LCA models, and then you can use it. And also the same way, if we would be just specifying to add electricity, the first time you do this, it has a mapping. It's going to map that when you are saying in your file that medium electricity, and if you map it to Spanish region, every single time you do that, it's going to know that, okay, in the words, medium electricity means Spanish electricity in your case. Okay. Questions? I don't have any questions. I want questions. I would really, really like some questions. Then, meanwhile, let's see what else, what other new formats we have. So exactly, you are able to export your data in HTML format. Let me show you how it looks. You click here, export, and instead of choosing PDF, you say HTML, like this, generate export. And what you have is an HTML file. This is how it looks. If you preview it, you're able to copy paste the structure into other things and use it, for example, even in spreadsheets. Then, one cool new thing that I wanted to show you was that now if you go to the review panel, you can see the actual values used in the model. Really useful and makes it much faster to be able to review what's really in the model. And this is a simple one, but now imagine 100 inputs here. It's much quicker to see the overview of your model than before. And of course, you can still do this as before. You're able to explore. What's unique to Earthster is depending on the database, you're able to look into the unit processes that it utilizes. So for example, the ABS dataset from EcoInvent, I can see how it's built, what is driving the impact. And I just click here and I can see and follow where is it really coming from. And look. You can go all the way to the end of the database and see. And this one, exploring the datasets are super useful when you are choosing the right dataset, especially if the name of the dataset is not clear. Sometimes you're like, okay, this market for, is it representing that there is a distribution stage or is it representing a mix of technologies? Like this, you're able to explore it and choose the correct one much easier. So it depends on if you're a more visual person or you just like reading the instructions, you can choose both. And we have a question that where can I find, let me show you the question. Where can we find all the recording of these sessions? That's a good question. And there's two answers to that. One is within this event itself. So if you keep the link, or you're able to go back and watch it from the LinkedIn Live event or from YouTube. Let me show you. You go to YouTube and then Earthster LCA. So you can also just search for Earthster and you will find us. This is how it looks, but the handle is Earthster_LCA, like this. And then you can see here the latest uploaded one is the January one, and you see all the other ones from previously. You'll find many useful videos, little demos, 2-minute videos, or the whole sessions what we have now. Here are the webinars. I recommend starting from here, especially if you're one of the students from the Harvard Extension School. Please watch them. It helps you a lot. Okay, any other questions for now? Looks like not. Let's go back here. Good. One of the things, so I've been talking a lot about copy paste, and if you've been in previous sessions, you know what it is, but if you haven't, then you should see it. Copy paste is something in Earthster that you're able to copy bits and pieces of your model, and you can use it in other cycles or in a spreadsheet. So look, for example, we go in here, we open this section, and we are able to copy this whole custom process, whatever is inside here, and copy it. When you hover on a row, this checkbox appears. You can mark it, and for example, copy from here. You're able to move bits and pieces around or delete and duplicate. So now we're just going to copy. Another way of copying it is from here. You have the same options, or actually the copying is not from. It's more hidden. Copy option you'll find here. So that's why I'm using always the multiple select. It's a good way of copying faster. Look, so we have now copied this. I'm going to create a new cycle, not to mess up with any of these. I'm going to click here, create new cycle, and copy paste demo. This is the first step when you are creating a model in Earthster. The system is asking you to name your product. So that guides you already what you're about to model. The next one, you can choose the scope or leave it as it is. It will not change visually your model in any way, or it doesn't change the calculations. It's more for you as a thinking step that are you going to model the whole life cycle of a product or a service, or for example, only production, so cradle to gate. And then you're able just to select it, whichever you want. Then you click next. The next step, the most important part when you are in the beginning phase of your LCA model, is define the actual production unit and the functional unit. So in Earthster, that's something special. We have two, and you can add many. And this is here to guide you thinking. So for example, the Lego block. I could set a production amount as one Lego block, the tiny block that's 2 grams. I could say 1 kilo of the plastic, or 20,000 Lego blocks. And what's important to remember is that, so production amount is what you're about to produce, helps you modeling. So because you need to put the inputs according to that. The functional unit is how do you use that, the product itself. For example, and it doesn't always make sense to have both, but a good example would be 1 phone and 500 charge cycles. There's a clear difference between, and what you're saying that, so 1 phone that will last for, let's say, 6 years of using it, and during that 6 years you have 500 charge cycles, and those you can add as additional functional units. But now we are just gonna remove these. We are not gonna add any. We are saying 1 unit. This is anyway just a demo cycle, and this is how you start with an empty model. The next step is to start adding inputs. And since I'm showing you how to copy paste part of your model, we are going to paste the information into the production stage. Don't try to aim at the tiny pixel, aim at the labels. All these have a region where you can click. Same thing, don't try to click on the edit. So click on the label. The first click always centers your view. And then the next click opens what we call the drawer. This is where you model your inputs and outputs. So instead of clicking add new, like we would be adding a data set, we click on the drop down menu and click paste. Look, ta-da! Here's the custom process we copied from the other section, and with all the inputs. The only thing when you copy pasting, what it loses is the formulas. So it keeps only the value. And now this is how it looks. So I paste it into a cycle, and let's paste it into a spreadsheet. Look, here's the copy paste. And for example, you can paste it like this. This is how it looks, the data. This means that the same table, copy paste table, can be used to modify your data, paste it into Earthster, and even add data that the system will ask you to map your suggestions. Look, so type C is custom process, F is flow, so a data set, E is exchange, and then B is a bundle. And the best way to learn this is create a structure in Earthster, add the different things, copy it, paste it into a spreadsheet, and then you see the structure, how it goes. And once you get a hang of how everything needs to work, then you're able to modify it and add more things yourself. Let's see, for example, now if I would add a new flow, and we are going to put electricity, like that, and we are going to say how much we put, 34, and then kilowatt hours, like this. We're going to leave the reference empty because I don't know which EcoInvent dataset it is. I want to add an EcoInvent dataset, but I'm going to leave this. So this, what you see here, is the identifier within Earthster for the given dataset. And this end part of it is the identifier for the version of the dataset. And then what we have to make sure when we paste back this data is to add the next number. That didn't work. We added to 5. And I want this electricity to end up on its own. So not going to put it inside the custom process, which means we leave this as empty. Look, parent refers to the ID of the input. So the number matches with the ID. And look, we are going to take it like this. We copy the whole table and paste it back to Earthster. We come here, here's our copy paste demo. We are going to paste it into distribution like this. And now we are going to have the mapping feature. Look, because one of my references was missing the information, we call it electricity. It's suggesting to me clearly, let's see, a US electricity baseline dataset. It's a pretty good one, but this is not what I want to add. So I can just close this and I click here, pick other. And it uses my search term that I was doing before. I can now mark the genre tag energy. It's already marked for me EcoInvent. I could clear that filter. So I'm looking for an EcoInvent dataset. And let's say this one, market group for electricity, medium voltage. Global is a pretty good one. Let's choose Europe. Like this. When you open this, if you start typing the region name, it will change where your mouse is hovering. So look, if I type G, it goes to that letter. And global, it starts typing it. So Europe, like this. Makes it a bit faster. Reorders my results. Here is the medium voltage. I select the mapping. It shows up here. I can still double check and I say paste and import. And look, now we have the same custom process as before and the electricity, what we chosen. So this is another way you can use Earthster's functions to do LCAs at scale. So it depends on your style. Do you like copy pasting the information, or do you like more the generator that you can take the straight bill of materials, especially if you have managed to automate your process, like what I was trying to do here, that it takes part of it from the previous spreadsheets and it creates it automatically for me, can be really, really powerful. And the same thing with the replicator. This could have been done by fetching data from one spreadsheet to another. You create the file and upload. And that's, of course, one way of modeling. Within Earthster, you're able to easily duplicate cycles, make little changes, compare them to each other. Or when you're using parameters, you can even easier compare the differences. Let's go actually see our template, how you can run scenarios when you do have parameters. And if we go here, let's find our template one, Lego blocks template. Since this had already parameters, it shows up the scenarios. So we can super quickly check what happens to my model if the Lego block is, let's say if it's red. I just click here. It recalculates. The graph didn't change because, look, maybe like this. If we take it to green, this is how the model updates real time. And what you can do is when you are comparing scenarios or checking your scenarios, what you can have, the more parameters you have, you are able to modify all of them. You can export a given scenario. For example, you have your model set up with parameters that can vary according to your client's need. For example, different materials or amounts, whether it has a sticker or not, all those you can set up. And even in a sales situation, the salesperson is able to change the parameters, show it to the client. Look, this is your environmental impact if you choose the organic material. And this is the one if you choose fossil-based. And that means that you're able to save it, or of course pin these scenarios, and we call it, for example, this was the green. Clearly I was about to write red. This is the green version. Here you see the active parameters that is being used. Then we add the yellow one, we pin that also. Look, yellow. And then I want to see the red one, pin. And now this is something that you were like also not only for sales cases, so even for yourself when you're doing sensitivity analysis, you can use the same thing. And all these, what I'm doing is that I'm defining that I want to see in a comparison these versions of my cycle. So I'm going to compare them. I click here. It creates for me a comparison, and this is where you can see the results. Now, by default, the comparison is always taking the main 5 impact categories. But if you have a full eco-environment license, you can change this. You click here and you say that I want to see my results in EF, like that's the PEF methodology, or IPCC, and you say that, let me see actually these 3 climate changes. I don't want to see more. You click add categories. This will take a moment, and it recalculates for you the results. Now, what you can do to dig deeper where your impact is coming from is add divisions, custom divisions. These are the main stages. And of course, here it's nothing juicy if I see all the same stages. So the next step is to check out where is the impact coming from. So now if we go back to the model itself, you can easily open, for example, open link in the new tab. It takes you to the model. It's useful when you don't remember what's in your own model. Let me click here, edit this cycle, and then I can see straight away what's inside here. So we have a custom process called color. We have different colors. And what we can also do is add tags. And that's something that I wanted to showcase today. Look, we are going to add here. It's going to be called the same color, but now we could add like this. You type the name and click enter, and then it takes it. You can add many tags. For example, a useful would be you have 20 different raw materials and you tag them raw material, all of them with the same tag, and then you tag electricity, anything that how you want to break down your data. And let me see, so we have here the color and injection molded plastic. Let's call this plastic, like this. Now that I have added new tags, the smart thing to do is issue a release. So I'm saying I have a new version now of my cycle, and I'm saying added tags like this. It keeps a history. So now if we open releases, it shows me the environmental impact of that given moment. And if I anytime issue a new release, it draws me a really cool graph where I can track how the model has evolved. Now let's go back to the comparison itself here. I'm going to reload the page. Here. Now let's add a new division. Click here, division, and then we called one of them color. We're going to change the color of it, and I want it pretty orange. Let's see. You can also add the RGB codes or just slide around like this. This is going to be color. Here, this is what will be visible in the comparison itself, and this is where the magic happens when you're actually looking for the type of element or data that you want to include within that division. So I'm just going to start writing color, and look, now it suggests me 3 alternatives with the word color. I have the processes tagged color. That's what we just added. That's what we want to add. The first one refers to any data set that has in the name the word color. And the last one is my custom process because it doesn't specify anything. So it's either a bundle or a custom process. Now we're going to choose this like this. And then we create the division. And look, it's already showing me the impact for that particular division. And then we add the other one called plastic. And we're going to make that purple like this. And then again, write plastic. And here are different things. This is more cool when you use different words. Create division. Ta-da! Now we know where's the impact coming from. So this is a different way of visualizing. Of course, that information, you see it here also. But this is a really powerful way of digging deeper into your data and seeing what is causing the impacts and how, for example, it performs climate change versus water use. So we can add here now the EF water use. Look, we go again to EF. Then we scroll down here and say water use. We add the category. It recalculates, and that shows that also. And the impacts follow really, really similarly each other. So there's no surprises in this case. This is what I wanted to show last time. So the divisions have been working for a while, but now it works with the tags. And yeah, issuing a release always helps to make sure that it fetches the right data. We have 8 minutes left, and I can see that there is a lot of questions. So let's have a proper Q&A session. So let's see. Great question. So sometimes I find that the process is classified under all others. When I click and focus on all others, another process gets hidden. It seems that all processes can be displayed at the same time. How should I handle this situation? Perfect question. Let me show you. There's a really easy solution to that. We go here, go to the cycle itself, and when you are viewing any cycle, the system will remember. Click on the eye icon, show visualization options. You click here, you suddenly get more options. Their focus mode will take out all the text. And reset diagram is useful when you've been digging into your model and you have 100 layers open and you're like, oh, I'm lost. You can click on that button and it goes back to this view. But this is the real juice, what hides or shows all others. Look. So now if we see, this is a threshold to, look, now it became all others. So with this, you can hide the amount of percentage you have chosen, the smallest impact. So when it's saying hide the least 1.5%, and it becomes all others. And if you like seeing everything, like I do, for me, even if it's too much on my screen, I want always to see everything, put it to 0, like this. And then all of them start to be visualized, like you see, and then you can just close this one, and next time it will remember. As long as you don't empty your cookies from the browser, it will remember. And if you do need to empty your cookies, then you just next time, again, set it to 0, and it will be visible. Okay. Then, next question. Then, when I'm viewing a workspace, is there a way to see the total emissions of a cycle without having to click into it? Interesting question. Not so, unfortunately, you can't do this that you're hovering on it and you see the impact. But now I would like to have a follow up on this, that why do you need it? Because a cool way what you can do, if you are curious of your portfolio, that you have many products, for example these what we have just created, you can create easily a portfolio cycle. So you add every single cycle in there and then you see it in the cycle view. Or of course what we can do is this also, oh, not here, you mark all the cycles that you want to add, and from this view you can create a comparison like this, and then you see the results all here. This is another way of doing it. But I would be curious to hear more. In what situations do you need to be able to preview the impact, and which impact categories it would be? Good. Next questions. Good question also. Are tags available in the copy paste and or generator? Not yet. No, unfortunately not. So at the moment in the copy paste, when you're using that, we have, let me show you, actually I have added that recently into the documentation. Here you find the documentation, and also here you find the online support, the chat support that you can ask questions. So now we go into the documentation, we write copy paste, it's already suggesting it. And the way you can have copy paste is one that many of you doesn't know, is the one called, that is used under other, is called query. There you can specify what you're looking for. So for example, if you want to use this mapping trick that I was doing, that I just wanted to add an electricity, and using the query will help you like this. Let me zoom in a bit here. This is what you would have to write. So query specifies what data, what's the search term you want to look for, and if you use together query and the name can be something else, because otherwise with the copy paste it always takes the name you have added here and changes the data set. But like this, you're able to say that I'm looking for market for transport, lorry specific, and then in the data you say truck or truck transport. And that's a cool way of doing it. But unfortunately, the tags are not there yet, but they will be probably something similar like this, that you will be able to add a tag. And the same thing with the generator. So the generator is in really early stages. And this is a valuable question for us, because that means that there is a need for it. And yes, it will be added. So let's see, any more questions? We have a tiny moment to still go through questions. And in general, like, all these questions are awesome, and I do want to get more of these. So anytime you have a feeling that I would like to be able to do this, or I'm struggling with this, or oh, I love this feature, all of those feedback is really valuable, and we want it. And I know that sometimes giving feedback is like, no, I don't have time for that. So the way to do it, the simplest way, is just click help, chat with us, send a message, and you just write, I love the generator. Like generator. How can I have it? And that's it. Or you just write feedback, no need to answer, and send it. And then you're like, yay! Because what we want to do is make sure that you have a really enjoyable experience with Earthster. And I want to close this. And that's the way to do it. We need your feedback to improve even further. And together we can make Earthster even more awesome. Our time is up. I hope you found this session useful. And Next session will be in about a month, something similar timing. I haven't booked it yet, but I will share the link also within this event, and you will probably get also a personal invitation to the next session. Thank you all. I hope it was useful, and see you next time.